right, well, our next guest says that for the economy's health, we got to stop spending money that the federal government wants to spend. In fact, the timing couldn't be more perfect to have Peter Schiff on. He is president and chief global strategist of Euro-Pacific. Peter, you heard the speech.
Unfortunately, I heard it.
What I heard, just listening here as a journalist, was the government is going... Corporate America and Wall Street killed us. The big government will save us.
Right. Well, first of all, we have to understand that...
Is that what you heard?
Well, that's what he said. But that's not what happened. I mean, the reason that Wall Street acted so irresponsibly, the reason that Americans acted so irresponsibly and gambled and consumed too much was because of bad monetary and fiscal policy. So it's the government that infected us with this disease, and now Obama is going to make the disease fatal. You know, what he's talking about, that the recession is going to linger for years, he's right. It's going to linger for maybe a decade, and it's going to be a depression, but because of what he's doing. The only thing that's going to save this economy is less government. What we need is...
You know, he talked about, job losses, and we need job creation. He has said he wants to create 3 million new jobs, of which 80% would be private sector, which of course means 600,000 would be the government. But then he didn't say anything that I heard that said how he would create these jobs. But we
need the private sector creating jobs without government interference. We need productive jobs. We don't want to work just to work. We need to work so we can have real productivity. What we need in this country, in addition to less government, is more savings and more production. But what Obama's trying to do is force feed more spending and more borrowing into an economy that's suffering from an excess of both.
How is taking money from the well-to-do and giving a $500 or $1,000 check once a year back basically to a family going to create a job?
It's not going to create anything.
I'm not saying the money, $1,000 wouldn't matter to a lot of families in America. Right now, $1,000 might. But how is it going to create a job?
Well, it's not. It's not going to create a job. It's going to destroy jobs. But also, you know, he's not even talking about big tax increases. He's talking about printing a bunch of money and just spending it. Because, you know, government, I heard Obama talk about all the things the government's going to give us. The government is broke. The government can't give us anything it doesn't take.
That's the first question I asked our Washington correspondent after the speech was over, Peter. I asked Peter Barnes, I said, where's the money coming from? Because he talked about rebuilding schools. You know, every kid's going to have anti-gravity flying boots. You know, every building will be self-generating power. Where's the money coming from?
There is no. The government can't give us anything that it doesn't take from us first. There's basically only, if they're going to get any money, they either have to borrow it from the Chinese or the Japanese, who would be fools to lend it to us, or they're going to run it off the printing press.
Well, they're broke too.
Well, they're not. They're not broke. They're rich.
China and Japan are getting broke.
No, they're not broke. They're losing a lot of money because they were foolish enough to lend it to us. But they're still wealthy. Right? They're not as wealthy as they were because they made a lot of bad investments in America. But when they stop doing that, all we've got is our printing press. And if we destroy our currency, which is what the Obama plan might do, if we have hyperinflation, it's not going to matter how much money we have because we're not going to be able to buy anything with it.
I'm looking at, very quickly, I'm looking at a headline. Russian Prime Minister Putin says Russia will resume exports to Europe as soon as the gas monitors are. So it looks like maybe the Gazprom, Ukraine, Russia gas battle is over. Let's get back to what we're seeing here. What does this mean for the markets? I mean, if the government says we're going to pay for everything, don't worry, we're going to solve your problems.
Well, the government can't solve our problems. It can make them worse.
With the exception of the president, and I'm not diminishing the role of the president, but most of Congress is the same Congress that's been here the last 20 years. Obama blamed Congress, of which he was a member.
Yeah. But unfortunately, he's a charismatic guy. I think he's a strong leader. The problem is he's leading us in the wrong direction. And Congress is probably going to fall in lock stop behind this guy. They're afraid to oppose him. He's very popular. And times are tough. And people want to believe in miracles. They want to believe in a Santa Claus solution. There is none. Unfortunately, what I think is going to happen is 4 years from now, when this is a complete unmitigated disaster, right? Barack is going to say, I told you so. I told you.
Well, that's what we just talked about. We just talked about the marketing of the message, right? Yeah. Companies do this too. Lower expectations on the quarter, then always beat by a penny.
Yeah, well, we're not going to beat anything.
Well, he's lowering expectations for the economy.
Right. But what he's going to be positioned to say is, it's a good thing I did what I did, or it would be even worse. No, it's going to be a disaster because of what he is doing.
How do you really feel, Peter? Now, Peter Schiff, Euro-Pacific Capital. Listen, Peter, you're welcome back anytime. I appreciate it. You know, listen, we know this. There's a lot of government spending, and I guess if you're out there and you're afraid of higher taxes, got to figure out where the government's going to spend the money.
You got to be afraid of higher inflation, because that's where the money's coming from. You got to be afraid for your savings. He talked about people losing their savings. He's going to wipe out people's savings.
Well, don't worry. An extra $1,000 for we'll solve all
You
of
can
our
get an extra
problems.
pack of gum.
All right, Peter Schiff. Yeah, Zimbabwe, here we come, right? All right, Peter, thank you very much. We'll be back right after this. Got a lot more coming up for you. You are watching Fox Business, and we are back after this short break. Stick around.